Hello everybody, Panzer King here in the Lion's Den in Prince George, British Columbia. Today will be a unique video specifically on this, what you see before you, the table that started everything in this room. It was designed about over a year ago. It took me 12 individual pages to come up with the drafts and drawings for it, and about 2 months of completion work. It was a joint venture between myself and PG Custom Woodworks here in town, who have been exceptional craftsmen, and we'll get into that later. But we'll go over what the design and what the overall concept of and why it came to be what it was. I wanted to combine functionality with playability with beauty. If you're going to do something, as my dad always said, do it right the first time. But at the same token, I wanted it to be functional, but I also wanted to be able to be playable at the same time. So it took a while to design this, and I think I came up with a good product. We'll dive right in with basically just going over what this table is comprised of. It is comprised of 504 individual drawers, which you see before. You have 18 individual organizers. You have 64 3-inch ABS caps, which you can pull out, remove, and put other organizers or chips in for whatever you're going to be doing or playing. So that it's not just a certain game, you can play other games. You also have 12 individual nation drawers, which can be pulled out with all sorts of organization components, with literature, whatever it might be, whatever you're playing. On top of that, it also comes with 2 battle boards, which you can pull out and set up whatever you're going to be doing for your battle or confrontation with whatever you're having. And moreover than that, this table is actually not one table, but 2. You can see right here, without any map, there's actually a dividing line right across here. You can see the seam goes all the way to the other end of the table. And you actually, if you look closely, you can see there's actually a gap between the LED lighting. The LED lighting is in fact separate. There's actually a switch here that shuts off either side, and it's located right under each corner. And you can see it right there. Back to this table being 2 pieces, it's joined by an actual bolt put and plugged in right here and on the other side right there. So this table, if you ever wanted to separate it, you remove these 2 bolts and these will actually separate, and you can start dismantling it and taking it to another room in the house, or possibly another place, another building, state, country, whatever you have. It took a long time to figure out the dimensions of this table. It was designed to carry a much larger map than it does now, but then I realized carrying anything larger, it's just too hard to actually play it. When you reach across the board, I'm 6'4", and you can barely reach almost to the other end of the table. This table is designed to fit 4x8 piece or map of whatever you're playing. Right here, from here to here, the distance increases it another 8 inches all across the table. So ultimately, you end up with a very large working surface, but I felt it was vital because if you're going to be playing, you may want to put your pieces and chips somewhere here along with these organizers rather than actually on the map itself. 4x8 is very handy when you have a game such as Global War. As you can see, this map is very large to begin with, but sometimes, especially when you get into countries like Europe, it's very small and very tight indeed. I was hoping to do a larger one, but I realized ultimately this was the best thing to do for playability, for practicality, and for future games as well. Back to the actual drawers themselves, you can see I pulled out 2 of these ones to show you that there's actually quite a lot of depth to them. And this is a mock-up I've done. I've actually put organizers in here and here. These ones I've actually put down with actual magnets, and I put 26-inch gauge sheet metal actually on the bottom of this drawer to hold anything in place. You can have your documents here, and I've actually even put a pointer in for each one of the players that may have this particular nation so they can pull it out, point to whatever objective, or explain what they are doing to make gameplay a little bit easier and more fun. This is what I'm working on right now. It's actually the Dutch organizer, which I have taken off at the moment, but you can see there's so many pieces to this game and many other games to begin with, right? But just having the ability to organize your pieces, infantry, armored units, tanks, ships, planes, makes life a lot easier and speeds up gameplay indefinitely when it comes to figuring out how you're going to do your combats. Over here, here's a pull-out version of that battle drawer, and you can actually see what I've designed here. When you have the attack or defense on either side, it makes it a little bit easier, and you can also flip these cards the other way if you don't want to move to the other side of the table, making it easier and speeding up gameplay. This is just a mock-up I've done. If you're playing Germany, for instance, and you have one militia, one infantry, medium armor, and a fighter, what you can do is you can actually take dies, and it doesn't matter which ones they are, and put them to each one of these individual positions to represent what you're going to be rolling. And then once you've done that, just take the duplicate of each one of those dice, roll it, and then you can count up what attacks. Obviously, the infantry got a hit, and then several other ones didn't, right? But it's just quick and easy gameplay, and you can roll everything into one. You can roll them separately into each bins. It gives you a bit of options, right? You also have the regular dice here, game chips for your money chips, so you can actually place there. It's very flexible and maneuverable for whatever game, but especially Global War 36. This case, this is also the build chart, and you can have one on the other side. One for the Axis, one for the Allies. It doesn't really make a difference. Down here, we can see the inner workings of what helps illuminate this particular table. This one I've already disconnected, and it's held in by 2 screws, but it has to be screwed in to give it a bit more integrity. And each side and each table is hinged on this to allow one of 2 things. You can see here, underneath here, this space is wasted space. You can use it for storage. Keep in mind, though, of course, the actual table has these casters. There's 4 on each table, and of course each table combines into one to make the actual table itself. So in total, there's actually 8 casters. Up here, you can see the battery. Now this battery illuminates one side of the table, and then the other battery illuminates the other side of the table. I grew tired of opening this, recharging these batteries, so what I did was I actually wired in a battery tendering system to charge this battery all the time, or unplug it if I want to just play it, and then of course when the night comes or the game has ended for the day, you can plug it back in and not have to worry about any cords attached to the actual table. Coming back out, this was a interesting invention I made, and you can see here there's symbols on these particular drawers. What they are is that they're just standard rondels, but they actually have magnets on them. But you can see here there's no actual magnet there, no actual magnet there, but there actually is a magnet right there, and it just moves to that position. I wanted to keep it clean, minimalistic, in case I don't want to play this game, or I just want to use it for some other purpose at some point. So you don't have embedded each particular nation, or if you want to move the nations around, you can and bring them to each side. And this is just a quick reference for somebody who's playing this game new. Well, which one's the Australian? Oh yeah, here's Australia. Oh yeah, here's the Australian drawer. You pull out, and then of course you have the Australian literature and everything else you see before you. Once again, the whole purpose was this particular game that we're talking about here, Global War 1936, or potentially any historical board gaming, they can be a very long game. And I wanted to do whatever I could to speed up gameplay. And ultimately, I think I kind of achieved that with this setup. Here, you can look at various chips representing a numerical value, perhaps 1, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. It depends on whatever value assigned to it. I also wanted to have a place for these fuel gauge markers all the way along here, as well as strategic moving arrows in case you're doing that. And also towards the end here, your money chip bays, and possibly even just a quick access for, in this particular game, airfields, coastal guns, batteries, naval bases, and so on and so forth. That overall kind of sums up what this table is all about. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I want you guys to know that there wasn't a lot of thought that went into this, except there was more of a passion to make this simple, easy, and ultimately enjoyable to play on. This table over here is just a quick, dirty mock-up for the tournament that we're going to be having here next week. But you can see it's very simple, and it does not need to have what you have here. Perhaps you just have standard organizers that will fit in here, very similar to what General Hand Grenade has in his system. That's why I designed this table, so that a lot of his pieces could just come over here when we decide to play our actual tournament here. These are actually 1/2-inch floor flanges. I'm a plumber and gas fitter by trade, so it was easy for me to put these in here to give this table some stability and some strength, but still lots of maneuverability and room to put stuff in between here. These tables were bought at Costco. There's 4 of them just supporting it. By the time you factor in the plywood and some 2x4s and also these spacers, the floor flanges, you might spend a few $100, and then boom, you have a table that's easy to use. I also wanted to make sure that when I build something, it lasts and goes with the overall concept of what I'm trying to do in this room. And I think I achieved that. And I think ultimately, maybe someday, I might put more than one table in here too. I did this because I really enjoy what I do with historical board gaming and historical events in general. But ultimately, this is not just for that. I recently had a son a few months back, and I'm very proud of him. And I realized this table could be multifunctional. Someday we might be doing science projects on here. Someday we might also be doing more events. Some days we might be doing lectures or discussing plans or even building stuff here in this shop. But ultimately, I'm happy with what the total design came out with, and I got to give a big shout out to PG Custom Woodworks. They helped a lot of this stuff become reality. Simply put, if you sit here and look from here all the way down, you see a very straight line. This could not have been drilled by a person with a hole saw and a drill and have that linear look and that complete perfection all the way down. The reason why that is because they actually have a machine there, a very expensive machine, that actually laser cuts and designs all of this to make this happen. And if you look closely at this, and this may not catch the common eye, because I wanted balance and form to this table, I wanted to make sure everything looked like it was all designed perfectly to begin with. But the distance between here and the distance between here and here is actually not the same. This is actually the shorter distance, and that's actually a larger distance between here and here. But you wouldn't notice it. The reason why that was to encompass 64 individual organizers. And these actually were 3-inch ABS caps, which I use a little bit in my industry, but they're perfect for exactly what you need. Like I say, you can pull them out, you can put them back in. They're simple, they're easy. With the LED lighting, you can actually see right along this side that they're actually still visible if you look down there, but it didn't need to be fully covered in. Ultimately, when you look at it from afar, it looks the same distance. It's a complete and total look. I'm extremely happy with this table, and if there's any questions anybody ever has when it comes to designing this or going over it, I will be more than happy to answer your questions. This is probably going to be the only table I'll do in the foreseeable future, but down the road, if there is a high demand or if there's a actual larger event or something that needs this particular version of table, I will definitely discuss or talk to anybody who really is interested in going about that and actually show them plans and drafts and how they can make their own table. But for now, this is Panzer King signing out. I would like to thank you and hope everybody has a pleasant evening. Take care, everyone.